Stéphane, le Diraison, Time for Oceans, 18th on this 9th edition of the Vendée Globe, 95 days, 2 hours after Alan Roura. Congratulations, Alan. Can you explain to us why you couldn't reach the pontoon of the Vendée Globe on your boat? So I like to kind of stick out from the rest of the people. I thought it was nice to come on a rib. So it's actually a mistake that was made. We were moored in a situation with a lot of swell, and when we reversed the gear on the engine, it was really stupid. We were supposed to go backwards and we went forward, and there was a problem with a rope. The boat went into the mooring, but the rope got caught in the propeller, and because of the swell, the propeller went up and the arm was torn. So luckily I was in the cabin. I heard a crack and the water came up. I was able to put my hand to compress and we were able to pump, and so the water ingress was stopped. So it's not serious in the end, and that's just how it is. It's not really serious because we could have had a problem with the engine, the electricity, but it will be quickly forgotten. So anyways, congratulations for having finished this around the world that you had been dreaming for a long time. How did you live this Vendée Globe? It's a vast question, I know. The word that comes to my mind is intensity, because it was strong. The race is full of extremes, superlatives. I went very high in some aspects, and at some point I had to call upon my mental preparation to motivate myself again in very difficult situations. So actually it was close to what I was looking for when I started the Vendée Globe. It's a lot of challenge. It's surpassing yourself. It's just finding resources that you don't usually go get inside yourself. And I actually surprised myself to have an amazing physical and mental strength and to manage to face all situations. And it was consistent with what I was expecting. It's very specific to solo racing, because the course is so long and so demanding when you're alone that in any case, you know that you're going to have to face unexpected things and that you can't count on anyone. So of course, sometimes when two hands are not enough and you would need a third person, you have to find strategies to bypass. And I found that really fascinating during the whole race, although it's very difficult. Finding the good strategies to face the problems is wonderful. And the finish is also at level, because meeting up with everyone, sharing, it gives out great emotions, and the absence of transition between our mode on the water, like in a parallel world during 80 days, and the boat, which is quite small. It's just a big carbon box, 95 days in a box. And then at some point, this box fills up with cameras, with friends. And that is very particular. It's very pleasant, but it is also an emotion to manage. It's similar to the Vendée Globe, highs and lows. Are there questions in the audience for Stéphane? So, Stéphane, can you tell us about the great southern seas? You are always dreaming as skippers of long surfs above the depressions, and actually it was a difficult conditions this time. Tell us about this Pacific Ocean that you were crossing for the first time, because 4 years ago it had stopped at Cape Lewing. So how was this Pacific Ocean? First of all, if we go back, first of all, on the Indian Ocean, it has been altered a lot with the ice zone. So it underlines the problem of global warming. Today, this year, it was not too unfavorable, but I don't know if you realize that at some point we regularly found ourselves in anti-cyclones or having to do closed haul sailing in that part of the world, which is not normal in the world usually. And you are blocked with this ice zone. I had almost everything in the Indian Ocean. I was hot in the Kerguelen Islands, but I had tropical depressions also. It was hard, but it was not at all consistent with what we were imagining in the South, and completely different from 2016, where it was a normal Indian Ocean. You take a depression at the front, you go really fast. Once you go into the Pacific Ocean, the ice zone goes more southerly, so it opens some zones. And of course, we always dream of this wonderful long swell and big surfs. But actually, the nicest swell I saw was in the North Atlantic, and the nicest surfs that I did were coming back from Quebec. Those really long waves, and in the Great South, what I saw, and I think it's what other skippers also expressed, the sea was often very choppy, quite short. So in this little game, I was facing very powerful low pressure systems that were so big that I could not avoid them because I didn't have a boat fast enough to escape. And 48 hours in the Pacific Ocean, during which the files were announcing 8 meters of swell. It's not just a conversation to be chatting, but when you have a file like this, it's the average of the highest third packs of waves. So sometimes it can go up to 10. And the time between two waves is very short, which means that the waves close up on themselves. And so we were really far from the image of the hills above surfing swell. And what we needed was more to slow down the boat, not to fall into these waves. And what I was fascinated by was the colors. The sea in these storms, if you think about the wind during 4 or 5 winds, but the sea was completely white. It was uniformly white and angry and powerful and dangerous. So it's a beautiful race. I'm happy to have overcome this and to have seen this, but the long surfs were not there. We also saw you very happy at Cape Horn. We felt that it was emotionally very strong for you. Yes, for me, it was very strong for many reasons. First of all, because Cape Horn is like for all skippers and for solo sailors, it is a dream. It is what you see in all the iconic stories about sailors and the Vendée Globes. There's a lot of imagination around this. You project yourself into this. So there was this exciting aspect of experiencing this dream. And also there was the Vendée Globe aspect. So there were 2 additional dimensions. The first is that it becomes, after the Great South, it was pleasant, but 40 days later, we were happy to find less swell and a little bit of more warmth. So it's kind of the exit door from the Great South. And this was exacerbated by what I lived in the ocean, in the Pacific Ocean, because at some point I was reaching my limits. At some point, it seemed impossible for me to get more. I was exhausted, and actually there was more after, and you still had to face it. and then more again, and that continued, and you were pushing back your limits each time. I had some gusts of wind of about 60 knots, stabilized with snowstorms also. So you have to imagine what it is. The wind is howling in the shrouds. I had a storm sail, and the boat is still lying on its side. So you have to imagine the scene. You're inside the cabin, the boat sliding on the side. I open the hatch and you see the waves going above. It's really tiring. And when it calmed down, it's true. The only thing I wanted to do was to get out of this. So Cape Horn was many things, but also a deliverance to what I had been experiencing just before. Despite this, ashore, we felt a nice philosophy on your part. You wrote very nice messages. Did this mental preparation bring a lot of help to you and to have a positive attitude? Yes, of course, it's a lot of work. Of course, Solène was the one who had to suffer because she manages the project with me, but it was the person to whom I talked about my problems. So she had a list of messages that were very negative. So I would lie if I said that I was always positive. Sometimes you need really an outlet for your emotions and you need to let go. The fact of being able to put a word on an emotion makes you progress. So yes, the mental preparation was fundamental for me. And clearly to succeed this round the world, but also to take pleasure in it and to give meaning to it. If it's just to go around for the glory and to say that you've done it, it's not enough. I was expecting something more in terms of personal development. And I wanted to really enjoy this, although we don't always remember how lucky we are. It's a challenge, but you need to measure how lucky you are on this race. When I was not going well, I tried to tell myself, wow, how many people are lucky enough to live this, to experience this and go around the world. So if you take a little bit of distance, the energy comes back and you can continue. About your boat, Stéphane, you told us a few days ago, that your boat was asking you to take him back. So can you tell us about the state of your boat today? Yes, well, poor thing, until the end, he finishes in the clinic now. My boat is a great boat of the 2008 generation. It is a solid boat, which is important in this race, and that I chose to to bring evolutions to. I changed the port of the rudder, I added foilers, I changed a part of the deck. What I could not have imagined, unfortunately, when I decided to do this work is that Mr. or Mrs. COVID would take place. And on the 16th of March, 2020, which is not long ago, there was a great moment of emotion because my boat was opened up in two. And the door of the shipyard closed. And it was about 6 months before the Vendée Globe. So you can imagine my reaction and wondering what I was going to do so that this work could be finished. So it was really a challenge for everyone to enable us to be here at the start. And I thank them because we managed and I finished. But of course, not everything was completely reliable. And this navigation was polluted by many things that could have been corrected easily, but that were not possible to do, and that kind of impacted this race negatively. For example, the hook system of the main sail, when you don't know what it is, you don't really realize, but it means that you can't hold or manage the main sail as you would like. So it's a big problem. When you're at sea, everything becomes very serious quickly. if we had been able to sail just 2 months more, it might not have happened. So also there was a frustration, even as fast as the first night. I was going southwest with Jean, with Damien. I was alongside them. It was really the beginning. It was starting off well, and then in the first front, the sail compartment had a water ingress, so I had to slow down the boat during 2 hours. I lost 10 miles to understand, and because I could have had time to return to Les Sables d'Olonne, but I pumped out the water, and my diagnosis was wrong actually. But I was delayed. And then during the second night, I had a problem with the foil casings that were loose. And after, it was the oil tank that was not well fixed, and that opened up and leaked in the boat. And all this prevented me from staying in contact with the front runners. And so it was never possible during the rest of the race to catch up with them. So it just extended like a rubber band. So yeah, in this case, the mental preparation was essential to rebound. So there was a new starting point with all this damage, and how could I make the best out of these problems? And actually, that's what happened during the whole race with new obstacles that happened. Water was a good problem in my boat. I would be interested in knowing how many liters of water I bailed out. The worst estimate from the architect was approximately 4,000 to 5,000 liters in the boat. So that's 4 to 5 tons. So I was thinking my boat was a little bit strange in terms of its behavior. So I opened a waterproof bulkhead, but I realized that the lamp, my light was floating, the fenders also, everything. If we had an easier situation before, we could have solved it before taking the start. There's a question from the internet. Do your fans realize how have you changed since the mini circuit? The boat is bigger now. I do measure what I have learned and all the steps I have gone through. It feels good. Oh, but the person who has asked the question through internet is actually here in the audience. Thank you for this question, because it's important to remember this whole process. When there are a few problems, it's good to take distance and to put it into a global perception, and that's why probably a majority of the skippers went through the mini transat, because it's like a small laboratory, which includes all of the parameters of the Vendée Globe, but at 1/10 scale. So it's a very good school. I learned a lot of things, and I'm happy with my progress, because I went up step by step. Some people go really quickly and have the maturity to do it, but I needed to build my my project step by step. About the connection that you have all established together with the other skippers, you said before reaching the harbor that the glances would be essential, even stronger than the words. I haven't done as many Vendée Globe as Jean Le Cam or Cali, but in 2016, I did not feel the same thing. Maybe this year, because the situation was really particular with everything we had lived in 2020. Maybe because the digital means enabled us to communicate more easily. Some links were created, and a lot of exchanges, as we said, on the pontoon. And what really moved me is that when there were problems with dangerous situations, as Alan said, for example, Jérémy for us represented the typical racer. He was out there only to win, and that was all. And actually, at some point, we were side by side in another race, actually, and it was a wonderful discussion together, because we're not about winning anymore. We were in a very in great benevolence between each other. So I'm thinking about him, but it's true also with everyone, with Alan, with Kelly. We chatted a lot. We had a group, just the three of us, and we were in communication more than once a day and trying to discuss and encourage each other. And it's true that the group with all the skippers was really interesting because it helped us to solve some problems. I personally used it, and this skipper solidarity was very useful to repair things or face problems. And there were a lot of communication like this, because this edition was very tiring, exhausting for everyone. That's why the front runners took 80 days to do it. We all thought that they would take 70 days. So these 10 additional days proved that it didn't happen exactly what we had expected. So mentally and physically, it was a difficult race, and that reinforces the links that we can have. And it's true that earlier on the pontoon with Pip and Kojiro, it was more in the glances than in the words. We knew what we had experienced together, what we had shared, and was not necessary to speak much. One last question, Stéphane, which is maybe too early to ask. So what is your plan for the next 4 years? Of course, I had prepared myself to the question because it's an obligatory question. It's difficult to answer like this. Of course, my wish is to continue not only the race, but to deliver this message, Time for Oceans, and to go further and demonstrate that we can build a boat that is simpler. And I think there have been a lot of proofs on this race that it can work, and a boat that would be less expensive and that would demonstrate that in building it with these parameters and being more respectful of the environment, it is possible. I'm really happy to hear that there are a lot of projects, but within these projects, I don't hear anyone, including the environmental constraint at the base. If we continue like this, I think it's obvious that we all have to adapt our way of life to this emergency. I am really shocked to see that in the sailing milieu, we don't always take this into consideration and kind of react like if we're not concerned. So for me, it's really essential to continue and to demonstrate that you can do it differently. And of course, it would be the opportunity to start from scratch, because I have noted down everything that I felt on this Vendée Globe. I saw what was good and what was less good, and I would be really happy to build a boat that corresponds to me, to my way of navigating. And of course, coming back on the Vendée Globe would be really interesting, but not in all conditions. I was here in 2016. I'm here in 2020. I finished. Now I see how it's possible to do it so that it goes well, the type of technical meets that you need, and I would like to come back with the conditions to do it well. The last question from the internet. Can you talk about this song that you chose called Time for Oceans? Yeah, it's really chic to have your own song. So my kids are at school in Boulogne-Billancourt, and at the end of the year, the teachers insisted to know if I would be at the school party, school day. So I went, and the two teachers made a wonderful surprise to me. They had 60 children of two class who started singing Time for Oceans. And they had asked a children's song composer to create and write this song with funding from the département. And when I saw this, I was really moved, touched. I couldn't believe it. I realized that the melody was great and the lyrics were perfect. And so I said, I would like to get in touch with the composer, and I want to make it something out of it. So a few months after, we all met in the nicest concert room in Boulogne-Billancourt, and we recorded this. It was an amazing experience to see how they work. 60 children between 9 and 10 years old who sang all together. It was incredible. And this man had great power to be able to do it. And it was just wonderful to see how he worked. And thanks to Boulogne-Billancourt, we were able to do this. And today, it is often used in the classrooms. There was a website dedicated Time for Oceans, and I think we had 1,600 people who were following our school kit, and these people were mostly teachers, and a lot of them used this song. So it was a great source of pride that we have contributed to this awareness among the children. Congratulations, and thank you very much, Stéphane de Diraison.